Hello, my name is Cameron Reeves, and today I will be talking to you about and giving more of a review on the app, which is a story and kind of a game called Device 6 on the App Store and only and strictly to Apple devices. And today I really have two major areas of review. First, I'm going to be talking about really what the app is and what it's all about. And then I'm really going to give my thoughts and my opinions, my likes and dislikes, how I think it could improve the game. And then lastly, I'll be answering really the question of how narrative structure impacted the reader with my chosen theme of mystery. Okay, so I'm just going to be telling you a little bit what Device 6 is and really what happens in the story. So Device 6 is really, the best way to describe it is an interactive novel game. The story is read and played by you, which is aka player 249, and you assume the role of Anna, who's trying to escape the confines of an unknown island after waking up with amnesia and not having any idea where she is or how she got there. Like an adventure book, her story really unfolds through blocks and lines of text and through interactive puzzles. The puzzles usually contain a number code into a keypad, activating and recording messages and traveling images on the video screens. The words and letters on the screen also tend to move as you're going through it. By answering the puzzles, it makes you look at all the pictures around the chapter and listen closely to the audio to look for your potential clues. You can only move to the next chapter by correctly answering every puzzle in each one. So in a sense, it's almost like you're beating a level and advancing to the next one. So it's not like a traditional book where you can glance at each chapter. Once you get all the clues, that's the only way you can advance the next chapter, and you can't go back unless you restart the game. So, and then I'm really going to talk to you about, so that's really what the whole story is about. I'm going to tell you really a bit. I didn't really like the story that much, but I'm going to start off by saying what I kind of liked about it. So I liked how it was more interactive and it was not just words. So traditionally you just read like a regular book, but in this case it was and really through it carried, I thought, a really innovative way for the reader to stay involved and really carry more of an aspect than just the traditional really novel. I also loved how it had audio in the story. That's something that I really enjoyed. I thought it added another aspect, like other than just the clues and the interactive moving things on the screen. You really had to listen to the audio, and it was another way to pick up the clues to advance the next chapter. And I also thought the game also really kept you engaged because you had to pay really attention to detail in order to solve all the puzzles. So this could maybe be a con too, but it kind of got negative, or it could be negative. But you really needed to pay attention to the most detailed things inside of it. And then next on to what I disliked about it. So firstly, I really didn't for this app. When you read the story, it'll sometimes turn onto the other side. So you'll constantly keep having to turn the iPad or your phone around to sort of read the text. I just thought this was just kind of unnecessary and didn't really, and I just wasn't really into it. It was just kind of more of an annoyance, and it really was not necessary for me to keep turning it around just to keep reading the text. That I just thought it was annoying. The next thing was that in almost every chapter, really except for the first one, the words did not really mean anything to answer the puzzles. Sometimes like I thought that maybe you'd have to use hints in the text to try and help you answer the puzzles, but in most of the chapters I found that you can maybe just not even look at any of the words or what they actually mean through the story, and you could still you could still just look at all the pictures and machines and still answer and get through to the next chapter. So I thought I didn't really like that. I thought you should have just had to read and then maybe found some clues inside of the story. I thought they should have added that. And like I said, that was all except for the first chapter. I remember the first chapter, that was the only clue that they had, which was in the beginning where Anna found a she found a number in one of the paintings she saw. So that's the one exception. And also, the next thing was that the actual story lacked character development, really kind of any intrigue, emotion, action, and did not really have a lot of meaning. This is kind of branching off from what I just said. The story in itself did not really have a lot of meaning. Like the literature in itself, I thought was really terribly written. It did not really have, like, Anna didn't really develop as a character. We didn't really find out too many things. There were really no other character. I felt like this game, you know what, it was good for a game, but it basically just revolves around what you do inside the games and the puzzles and the clues. If you're looking for a real story out of this is really not the answer. This was a terrible story, which was terribly written. Didn't have any real emotion, action, intrigue, real character development, and that's what I really kind of disliked about this, in a broader sense. The next thing was I was also bothered in some points the audio would only play one time around. So as I'm going through and I'm trying to look for clues, I'll listen to it once, but then I'll try and go back and listen to it again, and it won't play. So that was really kind of annoying. I kind of got stuck there for a little bit, and yeah, I didn't really like that. And I also was bothered on how much the reader, you would have to keep swiping the screens to go from in and really to look for clues. So like I said before, when you read it, you have to keep having to turn the iPad to read it. And if you finish it and you have to keep going back for clues, you got to swipe. It's a lot of swiping. You have to swipe for a minute, like a couple minutes, just to get back to the beginning or the end, just to constantly look for clues. So I wasn't a fan of that. And also another thing really about the literature as well, it really had a bad ending. I didn't think just to spoil it, Anna ends up getting killed by the man in the boulder hat, and in my opinion, it didn't resolve the mystery, and then in my opinion, it really ended in an uncreative way. And also another thing was that this is maybe not really a con, but I just thought some of the hints were a little too hard. Like some of the things were just out of this world, crazy hard for me. So yeah, and I thought the app, and just finally, the app was just really kind of not really accessible. Like I had to go through a lot of trouble finding this on this specific generation, iOS, only to strictly to Apple devices. So if they could sort of expand this to more Android accessible and to all platforms, that would be a lot better. Okay, so now for my second half of my review of answering the question, how does narrative structure impact the reader? With my chosen element, which is the theme of mystery. So I'm just going to really explain to you the theme of mystery and how it relates to Device 6. So the theme of mystery from the app Device 6 is shown throughout the story in many different ways. The story of Anna waking up in a random mansion and not knowing how she got there or how she gets out. That in itself is a mystery when the story begins. Through the story and kind of like the game, Anna and the reader also are faced with the task of solving puzzles and collecting clues to try and reach the next chapter. The mystery is represented in the character Anna, and the plot, which includes multiple puzzles that need to be solved, and a setting which is, for the most part, unknown to the reader. Ultimately, the story ends, and you still haven't really solved the mystery, and you don't even know what mystery was trying to be solved. And honestly, and this is sort of my thesis, but Device 6 proves to show the theme of mystery in different ways through the character of the protagonist, Anna, the puzzles in the plot, and the unknown setting. So now I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the first example, and it's through Anna, the character, is the first element of the theme of mystery. So she really is a mystery because she has to solve her own mystery of how she ended up really on this island, and really how she got there, and really solve the mystery of when she first begins in the first chapter. Anna, the character, is a mystery because she also because the reader doesn't know any of her really background or where she came from, and honestly, mostly she's kind of unknown to us. Anna is also curious, which subconsciously makes her want to solve her mystery for herself. And just to hear a piece of supporting evidence, Anna is a main character of a mystery story. And for example, she wakes up in the first chapter and says, "Where in the world am I?" So this shows that she does not really have a lot of knowledge on how she got there or how she ended up there. And then she says again, and I quote, "Anna feels a sharp pain in her head." So this is sort of signaling that she has some form of amnesia and doesn't really have a strong idea of where or how she ended up in that particular spot. And like I said, Anna dies in the end of the story, and when she dies, she still remains a mystery to the reader. That's just another aspect on just the mystery element for Anna. And throughout the story, there are no significant quotes about who she is, where she really is, or where she came from. That in itself is a complete mystery for Anna. Moving on to the second real example of mystery through Device 6 is the element of the puzzles and clues, which is really relates to the plot. So the whole game is really made up of puzzles and clues, which are mysteries that needed to be solved, which weaves the theme of mystery throughout the story. The only way to go to the next chapter and solve the mystery of the story is to complete the puzzles with the clues given in the story. In every mystery, the answer or solution is never just given. So this is just another way of this being an example of a mystery, because you need to solve it through the puzzles and the clues and the different hints they give throughout the story. The puzzles and clues also represent the different ways to solve the main mystery. So, for example, in Chapter 5, there is puzzles and clues where you need to use a moon, a dog, and a smile, and make it sort of to correct the pattern. And this just shows how you need to answer every puzzle specifically. You need to really look and listen for clues. And then moving on to the last piece of, or my last narrative element, is the setting. The setting is really completely unknown at the beginning, and to solve the mystery of setting it as it goes on. So throughout the story, the mystery is being solved of where she is located and why she is there. The setting in each chapter is also constantly changing in regards to like where she is around the island. So she can be she could be in the garden in one chapter, or she could just be in any random room or like basement. The description of the setting also does not really link to any specific cities, countries, or really known places in the world. So that in itself is also kind of a mystery of where she actually is. And just for an example, in Chapter 1, she describes her setting, which is, and I quote, "This was certainly not the room she rented from Ms. Muscat. For one thing, this room was cylindrical." So this is just an example of her describing the room she is in and really not having any idea where she is in. So that is just an example. And it's also just, this quote is also just evidence that Anna is just extremely uncertain of her surroundings during this time, and actually through most of the story. And really, as the story develops, there are more details revealed from where she lives, but ultimately, the end still remains an overall mystery. So really, in conclusion, Device 6 really has a narrative structure that represents the theme of mystery, because it is shown through the character of Anna, and her element as her character shows a lot of attributes for the element of mystery. Secondly, it shows the element of the puzzles and clues are another way that shows the mystery. And finally, the setting. The setting is basically unknown through this, and that is why it shows the element of mystery. Okay, thank you very much. This was the Device 6 app review. Thank you.